Angie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dante. Great to see you.
It is great to see you as well.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you know, we had to do that, you know, for many reasons.
Absolutely.
You are one of the most learned people that I know, and you have an interesting background because as a musician, as an artist, you've taken a path different than many others, but not unlike some. And with that said, is music an afterthought for you, or was it something that you always wanted to do and you did something else to, like, you know, have a really good life while you're trying to make it with your art? Tell us about that.
First of all, well said. Really well said.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the reason I say that is because oftentimes people in my position, I'll explain that in a second, don't get taken as seriously. But I think, I don't mean to sound dramatic, but my stepdad once asked me, he goes, "Why do you sing?" I said, "It's like breathing.
Okay.
I have to."
Yeah.
I have felt this my entire life. When it came to the crossroads of, you know, I always sang from the time I was a little girl.
Nice.
But when I was at the crossroad of what am I going to do with my life, I had grown up in humble beginnings.
Okay.
And I wanted a certain amount of security. At the time I was growing up, we did not have social media. We did not have the kinds of, or the ways of connecting with the universe to get our music out there, to have the opportunities. I mean, what an incredible time this is.
Yes, it is. Yes,
and
it is.
So I loved people, and I loved relating with people, and I just thought, I've got to secure a good job.
Okay.
I've got to, you know, and based on my upbringing too, that was just about equal to music and as a priority and having a certain amount of security. So I went to college, I went to pre-med, took these psych classes as electives, had a professor come up to me, said, "You're missing your column, you're missing your calling." And he said, "You get out of pre-med, you got to do psychology."
Okay.
So here I am, I'm a psychologist now. It's my day job. It's more than a day job, deeply passionate.
Yes.
I've loved it. It's given to me beyond words. But music, just because I chose that path,
Yes.
there was no abandoning music. That would have been like not breathing, as I told my stepdad. And I feel complete.
Okay.
And frankly, the older I've gotten it, I think the better I've gotten. The more I've done it, the more expansive my music community has been. A lot of people say, "How did you get trained?" And I said, well, back in the day, when I was around 5 years old,
Yes.
my mother would, back in those days, you would go to the grocery store, you'd spend $25, and I know a lot of people don't know this, but they gave free 45s.
Okay.
Little records.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
remember
so my
those.
mother would come home, and I'd sit down on the ground at 5, 6 years old with my record player, and I put it on, and my vocal coaches were Tom Jones, the Supremes,
Okay.
Barbara Streisand, and my mother said, she worried about me a little bit, and just said, "Who are you?" But she let me do it, and I would just listen, and I would mimic, and it just never left me.
Now, question, why do you think Mom was, like, I wouldn't say questioning your taste in music, but maybe that's what it was. Tell me, what do you mean by that?
No, my mom loved the music, but she thought it was a bit odd for a 5 or a 6-year-old to be sitting for hours.
Your focus.
In the
laser
zone.
focus. Okay,
I
okay.
thought it was a little bit, yeah, but it doesn't matter. She's always supported me and loves me to this day, is my biggest fan. So, yeah, it's been with me forever, really, the passion.
I see. And where would you say your hometown would be? You were raised
You mean, I grew up on the East Coast. I came out here for training and stayed, but I grew up in New England. I was born in Maine. My junior high and high school years were in New Hampshire, family in Boston. So those are my stomping grounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. musically and stylistically,
Yeah.
you have the chops to do anything. You could do
Thanks.
theater or Broadway. You have the range to do, some quote unquote very serious pieces.
Right.
You could go jazz, you could go opera, classical, but it seems like you've sort of taken a direction of a little bit on the rock side. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think, it's been a minute since I've seen you, so it's great to catch up with you, and I'll kind of share with you how I've evolved even since the pandemic. It's been I wouldn't have ever expected it, that I had a growth spurt, if I might say, as a singer. I know, and I love it because, I'm in my early 60s, and
get out of
darn
here.
it, yeah.
Get out of here,
what's
Angie.
exciting is, man, you never stop learning, you never stop growing, and it's been quite exciting for me. So yes, I would say classic rock. I'm still doing some of that. I would say power R&B, and
like what? Give me an example of that.
oh my gosh. I sing a lot of Aretha.
Okay.
So, I do some of the old classics like Chain of Fools, Natural Woman. I'll do a lot of contemporary Lady Gaga. I do a lot of Lady Gaga. So
you're just mixing it up.
I am mixing it up. And I'm not confining myself.
Okay.
So, as you know, I have a dear friend, Daniel Hendricks, who is an opera singer. And for me too, it's not about just who I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm expressing, but it's community, and it's sharing, and it's lifting each other up. And I have this, and you're part of it. I know it's been a minute, but I do feel that you're part of my music community as well.
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
I want to share these experiences. So Daniel Hendricks is a phenomenal opera singer.
Okay.
I'm not really an opera
Okay,
singer.
would you say he's somewhat of an influence?
Oh, he's a huge influence.
Okay. Yeah, he's a great artist, yes.
Fantastic artist, and
Huge voice.
Huge voice and beautiful originals. And I've been honored with the opportunity to frequently sing one of his ballads called Know You Know.
Okay.
So I think it stretches me and pushes me into the opera realm a little bit, which has been beyond words.
Oh, wonderful.
Actually, yeah.
Wonderful.
Beyond words, a beautiful experience. So, and it was through, and you know how it is, this person knows, that person knows. So I also got an opportunity a couple years ago to do some recording, thanks to Daniel. So he called me, I'm in the office, and he texts me, he goes, hey, I'm part of this group.
Okay.
I just got a text, and they need somebody to go into the studio. They've already done the tracks, all the music tracks, but they need a big voice to go in and do Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd.
Right.
Okay, and I'm like, silly, naive me, goes, sure. And he said, I know just the right person. So I get into the studio. Now these two men have become dear friends of mine, and we've done a few recordings together, but it was the biggest vocal challenge.
Okay, why so?
Oh, do you know Great Gig? If you go listen. It is,
but
first
you
of all,
you have an amazing range.
Well,
so
bless your heart. Thank you so much for that. And I appreciate the confidence, but it wasn't until, and again, I have confidence. I feel good about my gifts, but it was the most expansive, challenging things. And I will tell you though, I did it. And I was so proud. So it really lifted me as a vocalist. And through that experience, I said, if I can do that. So I just kind of kept that momentum and kept pushing and going, doesn't matter how old I am, I can do this. It's
bingo.
Yeah, no, it's a really, and then they actually had also created a track for, or multiple tracks for Stairway to Heaven.
Okay.
And so I recorded that with them as well, and anyway.
Now, were these projects that you worked on during the pandemic, or are these
right before
the pandemic?
Right before.
Okay, so are these things that are out now, people can listen to online, or where can they find this?
Well, I have them privately.
Okay, so they're not released yet?
No.
Okay.
Happy to send
Gotcha.
you a copy, but yeah, not sure what we're going to do with it
yet. Okay, well, I know a few labels that may want to hear it, so let me know.
Great, great.
Well, that is wonderfully refreshing that not only have you, just stayed at it through everything that we've gone through in the last few years, but you, according to what you're saying, to quote you sort of evolved a bit and expanded your palette.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's wonderful because so many of us are sort of in our little bag,
right?
And we've got these benders just like the Clydesdale, and we don't realize what else is going on out there.
Right.
Not only stylistically, but just how things are moving so fast, and the next generation going in one direction, and we still honestly need to, as seasoned musicians or artists, I think it's wise to look at what's going on, around us, as well as, what we've always listened to. You know what I mean? I've got my go-to songs. You probably have yours.
Right.
Like, what would you listen to if you're sort of down and you want a little pick-me-up?
This is actually you're going to laugh. This is a great example of you can see the psychologist in me coming out.
Yeah. Bring it.
Kind of self-care. So when I was getting ready to sing Great Gig in the Sky, which is actually an extraordinary piece of music, and I have such great respect, but it's about the death and dying process.
Okay.
And there's 3 pieces to it. The initial one is, oh my gosh, I'm dying. The second part is heck no. And then the third part is relinquishing control.
Okay.
So it's actually a beautiful, extraordinary piece of music that you can use metaphorically as an expression of so many.
And what artist is this? A particular artist?
Or Pink Floyd.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Pink Floyd, yeah. So when I was getting ready for that piece, and it took me longer than any piece I've ever had to prepare for. It took me about a month to really
dive in, do your research.
Right. But I found myself having nightmares. It really impacted me because I was taking it in. I'm like, what am I going to do to balance this? So I happened to be at Macy's with my son, and all of a sudden, over the intercom is, ain't got no trouble in my life, no foolish dreams to make me cry. Anyway, I'm just rambling, but and I'm like, yeah, that's what I got to do. I got to balance it with stuff like that. Okay. So that's more of an extreme.
Right.
It's not necessarily what I'm pulled toward. I love, oh my gosh, I love music that you say what lifts you up, but it's not just cheerful songs like that or silly songs or, disco to whatever, but really just something that moves me.
Okay, so being moved is as opposed to lifts you up. So you can be moved, and in other words, I at one point may have sort of I don't know if it's fair to say frowned on, but sort of looked at people that may want to listen to music that's sort of really down and really minor. It's like, oh wow, that's kind of a downer. Yeah. But to some people, hey, that motivates you, right? Is that sort of what you're saying?
It can. It's like one of my newest pieces that I learned is an Elton John song called "Madman Across the Water." Okay. I just love this piece, and I love it because what lifts me up about it is it's about I think it's about someone, because Brandi Carlile does a version of this exquisite, and I love her interpretation of it, which is, it's kind of about that quirky, not well understood part of someone. And how do you manifest that, allow that to be manifested, not be taken down by what the world is telling you should be, or somehow, and I love singing that because I think we all have that experience at one time or another in our lives.
Sure.
And
so feeling a little bit awkward in some way.
A little bit awkward, a little bit self-conscious, misunderstood. Okay. And how do you thrive in the midst of that? How do you go on? Where's the resilience? So I love that song. So to me, it's inspiring. I also love Alicia Keys, Seal. These are other influences of mine. I would have to say Heart. So that brings in the classic rock.
Sure.
But each of them.
Okay, so it's funny, you mentioned awkward. Have you ever felt awkward in a musical situation? And how did you deal with it?
I did, and much less so now, thank God. That's what I mean by the evolution. And I can believe it or not, talk about a silver lining of the pandemic. I think, again, I part of what I struggled with throughout my life is being taken seriously. despite not having trained, not gone to college for music.
Okay.
But being taken, this is not something that I take lightly. I'm deeply passionate. I consider myself a professional and an artist. But
Absolutely.
how do you not stomp on each other's toes? How do you not? How can I explain this? So I'm constantly with individuals like yourself,
Okay.
epically trained, phenomenally skilled, and that they deserve respect.
Sure.
But sometimes it's hard. Like, it's kind of like I've at times felt like I have something to prove. And then over time, but here's what I did. I put my time in. I just kept putting my time in. I kept showing up and putting my time in. And the beauty of the pandemic is that Daniel, back to Daniel, and Michael Ray of Soul Ray, they're two dear friends of mine. I call them family. We're a tribe.
Yes, yes.
And we were tired of not singing and not gathering. So what we did was we put together several. It started one time at Daniel's home, but we did it in several homes where we streamed a concert.
Okay.
And we just collaborated, and we put like a few hours of music together, and we shared it with family and friends, and we streamed it. And then I gave myself a challenge, thanks to Great Gig in the Sky. I just said, come on, you can do this, push yourself. I had been, one of my anxieties of the past had been, despite having a pretty good degree and doing fairly well in school, I had some issues with memory.
Okay.
Well, hello, if you're a singer and you're needing to learn material, you kind of have to memorize stuff. So I kept part of my anxiety. I'm finding my way back to your question.
Okay. Okay.
Part of my insecurity in the past was I knew I wasn't singing to my potential as long as I was glued to my lyrics. If I had dependency on my lyrics, I didn't have full and complete expression of that internal process and as a way of expressing that. So what I did was I said, Angela, I don't care if it takes you 100 hours, you're going to learn it. And I do. I've got a couple of sets now. They're in me. I just worked really hard. And then I'm therapizing myself.
That's okay. That's okay.
But that is what I had to do. I'm like, don't forget what you know.
Right.
Don't forget what you talk to people about every day in therapy. And I'm like, come on, just hang in there, put yourself out, get over this.
Practice what you preach.
Practice what I preach. And so what I did was, my first time out the gate, I fumbled a little.
Okay.
But as my husband says, I know because I listen to you practice all the time, but nobody else knew. You recovered. Nobody knew that you sang that verse twice. But it gave me that, and then I was like, okay, I survived it. I wasn't completely humiliated. And then the second time, my nerves, so 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, maybe my first time out the gate, I was like a 6, 7.
Okay.
Still made it through. I'm like, okay. So maybe second time around, I was a 4.
Okay.
Third time around, I was a 2. By the time I'm after my third time of performing a new song, I'm fine.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's been a beautiful process, and just connecting and collaborating and expanding.
Okay. All right. Well, to your point regarding a tribe, tribes have elders. And so from what I know about this tribe, so to speak, Richard Crawford might be an elder. What would you be musically at this point?
Interesting that you say that. I actually really appreciate how you said that, because for the longest time, you talk about that awkwardness. I felt like, I really felt that division. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't. I feel, and I think part of it too is I kept showing up, and I feel that I respect them, and they respect me.
Absolutely.
And if there's this mutual, it's kind of more reciprocal. I don't have to be Daniel.
Okay.
I don't need to be Richard. It's kind of like we all bring something to the party. My husband had a great thing he said when we moved in. we moved into a home and we were about to claw each other's eyes out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Being real, getting real.
Yeah, getting real.
I like
no,
it.
No, and 30 plus years later, Jim and I are awesome. We're great.
Of course.
But it was a moment in time, and he said, honey, I know you're a leader and I'm a leader, but there can't be two presidents in this. He goes, how about sometimes I'm president and you're VP? And then in maybe that room, you're president and I'm VP. And that's kind of how I feel with the tribe. That's why I bring that up.
That's a very healthy way to look at relationships.
Yeah.
I think in any era, but particularly now, with so many things that are going on, so many firsts with women or African-American women or women in general, so many firsts. So that's a very healthy way to look at it.
Thanks. Yeah. And I don't have to be them, and I honor them and I respect them, but I'm feeling that reciprocated. And I, sharing that with my husband recently, I just said, my gosh, I said, it feels so comfortable and good and easy. And, what too? Part of it is, when you're creating your tribe, right?
Okay.
Because there's a certain amount of intentionality. There's a certain amount of, I pick you and you pick me, right? And part of it is I get it in this industry, there's a lot of ego. There can be a lot of ego.
There can be.
But at least stereotypically. But so many of the people that I'm around, it doesn't matter. They do their best, they hone their skills. But, there are times where my husband will say, every word to that song, why are you not singing? I said, because I want to take it in. I want to hear that. I just want to receive that. Yeah. And I feel that coming right back at me. So I think it's also knowing just kind of when to be there and when to sit back. So it's
very good point. Very good point. We have to listen. And a lot of people unfortunately don't listen enough. A wise person once said to me, we should first seek to understand and then to be understood, and that goes along with listening, right?
Right, absolutely, 100%. So yeah, it's been a good time. It's really been a good time.
Awesome.
And now right now we've got. I just did something last night. There's a.
Yes, I heard about it. You did a little show last night.
It's a pro jam. It's a pro jam. It's once a month. We all get together and we jam, and we've got this monster group text, and we're like, okay, what are we singing? And it's hilarious, very organic, but lots of amazing professionals, lots of good fun.
Yeah, I mean, jams are a wonderful way to stay connected. Yeah. Keep your chops up. You know what I mean? In between doing the actual gig and so forth. So I think that's a great thing. Yeah. And that was at where? Was it Wildwood?
Wildwood.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so that's a great venue for the people out in TV land, in the San Diego County area, Wildwood. So definitely check that out. Check you out when you're at Wildwood.
Thanks.
As an artist, a musician, a vocalist, at what point do you become a band leader?
What an interesting question. A band leader.
If you were to allude to some of the great singers of our era, let's contrast, let's say, a Patti LaBelle, okay? And then going back even further, I would say an Ella Fitzgerald, okay? Okay? And we're getting into more like a sort of a musicianship thing. Their voice is more like an instrument.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then let's talk about a Lady Gaga. Okay, so some interesting things with vocalists, that an interesting dynamic. As a instrumental musician myself, I typically have had better experiences musically if I am with a vocalist, and I'm not doing jazz or instrumental music per se, but that's a vocalist that plays an instrument. They're phenomenal on piano or guitar. They may not have it with them at every moment, but they understand the ins and outs of theory to a basic extent, and they're at ease at giving directions that are clear, they're concise, they're understood. You know, when we're at the B section, when we go back to the A section, all these, many vocalists are clueless about that. So in other words, being a band leader, you know all that stuff. So at what point does a great singer evolve to being a band leader?
Well, honestly, I think you just did a great job of answering part of that question. It's very interesting. Along the way, I have had to learn the structure of a song, and there are other ways of contributing. I know Soul Ray and I have created shows, and Michael is the one who really understands the music, the musicality side of it. I know I did, you know.
So Michael Ray is, would you say, is your MD, the musical director?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. But again, a good musical director, you know, when we're working together, yes, I'm definitely the VP, but I'm a close VP. It's wonderful. He listens, we collaborate. We listen to each other. We know when to let go. We know when to hand the baton to that person. I would have to say what I'm just beginning, and that's what I mean. Talk about a wonderful, unexpected evolution where I'm hustling business. I'm calling LaBerge. I'm calling various wineries. I'm hustling our work.
And that's what we have to do now.
We have to. And, you know, creating video. And so, you know, the other day, somebody asked me to scat. I'm like, I'm going to get, it's hilarious. I'm not too proud to say that I got online and said, now I know about scatting, but when I do something, I want to do it well. So I want to really learn how to scat. So, you know, I'm definitely, I would not say that I'm the band leader, but I am personally, I'm not passive. I am present, I am active, I'm involved. I'm not just some little diva off in the corner going, you know, I'd like my, you know, orange M&Ms, please.
All right, well, all the musicians will definitely respect that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, no, it's. I just think we all, you know, if we're going to make it work and we're going to have the opportunities, we have to go beyond the art. And we have to understand the bigger picture. And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes it's hard. We're not really trained in these other areas. So, and then the other part actually of the answer maybe that came to me as you were talking is when you talked about Ella Fitzgerald and you know, Aretha and whoever, that I think part of it is you get to a level where you identify yourself as not average. I know that's a weird way of putting it, but it's like you realize I have a gift. I have something to share. And I want to craft this, and I want to share this, and I want to collaborate, and I want, and so you're going to do whatever you can to make that happen.
Sure. Well, two things I'll say. It's first of all, it's very refreshing for you to admit, well, hey, I mean, I know I'm a good singer, but I don't know everything about it. I'm still work in progress, so I'm not really sure about scatting, but I'll dive into it. Okay, so that, I'm sure everybody would appreciate that because we can't know everything, and it's unfortunate. There's a lot of people, and this goes beyond just being a musician or an artist. There's a lot of people that think they have to know everything. We don't. We have to look to the experts at certain things. You know, even the greatest heads of state have had, you know, experts in their field to give them advice, kings and queens of ages, you know, so that's a good thing. And I'd also say that this whole process of evolution, you know, it just simply comes with time, and we do have to put the time in, and you've referenced that a few times, got to put the time in. One of the interesting things about you, Angie, is that, you know, as I initially said, you know, you're very learned, and you've got amazing credentials, and that's a great thing for anyone, particularly an artist or somebody that is artistic. But what a lot of people don't know is that, you know, many situations you are the smartest person in the room, but nobody knows that because you're very humble about it. So for you to sort of, you know, sort of question yourself in certain areas, like, I guess I am good, you know, that just serves to your humility about things. And I think that's very commendable. You know, contrasting that to, you know, one of my heroes as a drummer. I'm a bassist and a drummer, but I like Buddy Rich. I like a lot of things he's done. And if you look at some of his interviews, you know, he's not afraid to say he's the greatest. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are afraid of if you're not being humble.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fine line between admitting, hey, I'm really good at this, or I know I'm good, but I don't want to say it, you know. So I think that's a cool thing. What would you say?
Yeah. No, I would agree, and that's been part of I guess the word of the day is evolution.
Okay.
But it has been part of that, where I'm really embracing what I do.
Right.
And appreciating it and nurturing it and going, look, there's, like Great Gig in the Sky, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and this is my middle. I'm not, you know, what am I waiting for?
Sure. Angie, what would you say to an aspiring lady who wants to sing, follow in your footsteps, either academically, but more importantly, artistically, as a vocalist? Any words of wisdom?
To not let your failures define you.
Okay.
And use them to lift you up. Keep at it. Persevere. If it's important to you, do it.
Okay. Wonderful.
Do it.
Very well said. Angie, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And good luck in your careers. And
thank you very much.
Hopefully we'll see you on a stage one day real soon.
Awesome. Great to see you, Don.
You as well. Blessings.